Reid from Reid Corporate, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to this investor webinar with Flynn Gold, ASX ticker FG1. Well, Flynn's been around on the ASX since 2021, exploring a portfolio of high-grade gold projects in northeastern Tasmania. But it was only last Friday that a lot of this hard work finally came into sharp focus for Flynn with the release of a substantial exploration target for the company's flagship Golden Ridge project. We're delighted to have Flynn's Managing Director, Neil Marston, join us from Perth this morning to run us through what the company's been up to and to talk about this significant milestone. Flynn's announcement also caught the attention of veteran mining journalist Barry Fitzgerald, who featured the company in his widely read Garimpeiro column on Stockhead on the weekend. For anyone interested in the investment case stemming from this exploration target announcement, Barry's column is well worth a read, particularly against the backdrop of what is still a very buoyant gold sector. Of particular note, he compares Flynn's sizable exploration target and current sub-10 million market cap with peer gold stocks trading at many multiples of Flynn's value. There's clearly lots of work to be done to close this value gap, but Neil is going to give us some insights this morning as to how the company plans to do this in the coming months, as well as some of the exciting news flow on the horizon. Just a reminder to all who have tuned in, if you would like to ask a question of Neil, please do so using the Q&A tab on your browser. And also a reminder that this webinar is being recorded and the recording will be made available later today on YouTube and on the company's socials. Well, with that introduction, Neil, thanks very much for joining us this morning to update us on the Flynn story. Always good to see you. Please take it away.
Thank you, Nick, and it's great to be with everyone this morning. Very much a pleasure to run you through, for those who haven't or aren't familiar with the Flynn Gold story, introduction to the company and where we've got to as of last Friday's announcement. So, as Nick mentioned, there's a disclaimer. As Nick mentioned, the company's been listed on the ASX for just over 3 years now, and the thematic that the company really used in its listing was chasing high-grade gold in northeast Tasmania. We've got a portfolio of over 1,000 square kilometres of ground in Tasmania. And we really are targeting an extension of the Victorian goldfields. You may recall when Kirkland Lake had that bonanza discovery at their Swan Zone at their mine at Fosterville in Victoria. That really provided the catalyst for people to go and have another look for gold in that area. And geologically, the northeast part of Tasmania is very much the same age rocks, and it's an extension of the Victorian goldfield, which to most people is a bit of a surprise. And we're certainly finding mineralisation there that looks very similar to what you'd find in the Victorian goldfields. We put out our first exploration target on a project called Golden Ridge, which is our flagship asset, and I'll be really focusing on that today. And in that project area, we've done drilling in a number of areas, which I'll summarise, with results of over 100 grams per tonne gold being intersected in some intervals, which is very exciting. It's a certainly large system, over 9 kilometres of length at Golden Ridge, which I'll run through. And we are back there drilling there today. So there's plenty of news flow to come, and it's certainly a compelling story for people looking for some value. Our market cap is very low at the moment, so the opportunities for a significant re-rating, I think, are quite imminent. Just to give you a bit of a corporate snapshot, the details there of this capital structure are quite clear. Top shareholders are shown there. Colin Burke, who is a private investor in Melbourne, he's holds over 32% of the company at the moment, and his appointment really is Chairman Clive Duncan on the board. Clive's worked for Bunnings for over 40 years and certainly has a very good reputation. You'll see John Ford also on the board. Lau Resources Fund, if you look at the charts, got 4.4% holding, and John's joined the board. They've been on since pre-IPO, and they have participated in every raising we've done since. So they're very, very supportive of us, which is a big tick for us when you've got Lau Resources Fund sitting on our register. And our technical director, Sam Garrett, he's pulled these assets together and really assembled a portfolio which for a company of our scale is quite amazing in my opinion. So that's our portfolio. We've got some assets in Western Australia. They're really non-core at the moment, with our focus being in the northeast of Tasmania. We've got, or Tasmania in general, but the northeast. We've also got some ground at a place called Fire Tower and Henty. And if anyone's got any questions regarding that, the Henty project's a zinc, lead, silver project, which has had some significant exploration done on it in the past. But really our focus right now, where we're adding value to the company, is with our work in the northeast, chasing the Victorian style gold. This picture really tells the story in a nutshell. You look at Victorian goldfields there, and over 80 million ounces of gold has come out of the Victorian goldfields. It's the most prolific gold region in Australia and very much probably the world. And it's still yielding lots of good quality gold mineralisation at places like Fosterville, Costerfield, just to name a two. But across the Bass Strait in Tasmania, people tend to forget about that. Beaconsfield has been the biggest gold mine, and that's really on the boundary of the northeast to the northwest, or the remainder of Tasmania. That Tamar Valley is very much a structural contact zone. And the production out of the Beaconsfield has been almost 2 million ounces. You can see there in the early days when that was the biggest mine in Tasmania in the 1800s. They were pulling out gold at almost 25 grams per tonne gold, and then with modern mechanised mining and the inherent dilution you get when it reopened in 1999, they were still pulling out gold at a grade of 10 grams per tonne. New Golden Gate, closer to our ground at Mathina, they pulled out similar gold, about 250,000 ounces at 26 up until about 100 years ago. But really, since that Mathina mining operation completed over in our area, there hasn't been much exploration for over 100 years. So we see that as a huge opportunity for us. You can see our tenement holdings there shown on that map, and I'll zoom in more detail with them shortly. There you go. You'll also see we've just applied for an area at Beaconsfield here on this map. But our main two projects which we've got at the moment, it's Golden Ridge, which we believe is an intrusive-related gold system, and certainly has been the focus of our effort. And just over a year or so, we acquired the Warrantina project up here, which has certainly got gold mineralisation in turbidites and very much looks like an orogenic gold system from the work that's been done on that to date. Beaconsfield, our application surrounds the old mine. It doesn't include the mining lease, but we certainly think there's lots of potential to find additional mineralisation outside of the existing mining lease at Beaconsfield, which is on care and maintenance. So Golden Ridge, as I said, we'll move through that. This is a geological map of Golden Ridge, and you can see the pink here showing the granite intrusion into the sedimentary rocks, the Mathina sediments of the grey. And most of the gold mineralisation that's historically been identified is along this contact zone. There's old mine workings at Brilliant, Trafalgar, Golden Ridge, Double Event, Queen of the Earth, and a couple of other places, certainly old historical workings in those areas. So we've been testing around those, and that's been our focus to date. But we've also been doing a lot of soil sampling, and we'll show a bit later a map which is reports where we've identified some new targets from soil sampling. So we've got Grenadier over here on the far western side. Kensington has also yielded some results, and Big Penny to the north. So this is a 9-kilometre zone. What work have we done to date? We've put 14 drill holes into Brilliant since we listed, and certainly extended the gold mineralisation there. We've done 12 RC drill holes. These were scout holes done in 2022, a few over at Kensington, a couple at Blinding, and 5 here along the link zone, the Golden Ridge area. And we've reported some significant gold mineralisation in those holes. And then in 2022, for the last 2 years, we've been drilling at Trafalgar. We've got 19 holes for about 6,700 odd metres completed to date. Still at very early days when you look at that amount of drilling. And we've got some exceptional results which have led to us to put out the exploration target. And at the moment, we've got the drill rig at the Diamond Link Zone, and we're drilling that under the Golden Ridge adit, which I'll show you a bit further. So onto the maiden exploration target announced on Friday. This is a table that's extracted straight out of the report in the announcement. You can see the total is 3.5 to 5.4 million tonnes at a grade range of 3 to 4 grams per tonne gold for between 449 and 520,000 ounces. And within that, the lion's share of it sits in Trafalgar. You can see here 1.6 to 2.2 million tonnes, grades up 4.5 to 6, and ounces over 300,000 ounces. So when you look at that sort of on a visual chart, you can see these are all basically to scale. The size of the diamond equates to the amount of gold we've got in them, and obviously left to right shows the grade. So you can see Trafalgar, the lion's share of the gold sits in that Trafalgar exploration target. But we've only done a couple of drill holes at the Link Zone, so we're hopeful that we'll be able to take the Link Zone along this chart in the grade range and also in the tonnage range. So that's a very exciting opportunity, and hence that's why we're drilling at the Link Zone right now. So the exploration target, as it's said in the table, 3 areas: Brilliant, Link Zone, and Trafalgar. You can see the shaded areas are where we've built these exploration target numbers on, and we've really just focused on the vein system. So our thinking at the moment, certainly at Trafalgar, underground mining scenario. So we've included only the gold that sits into our modelled veins. We haven't included any gold which sort of there's quite a bit to the southeast of Trafalgar, which is running at sub 1 gram per tonne over broad zones. We've excluded that from the exploration target. So there's plenty of upside. This zone between Brilliant and Trafalgar is 3 kilometres, and that's 30% of the 9 kilometre contact. But as you can see, even there's big gaps in the areas, and most of the areas to be tested will be in this area between Brilliant and Trafalgar going forward. The drill rig is here at the Golden Ridge adit, and we'll also be drilling at the Link Zone later on. Okay, this just gives you some idea of the sort of veins that we're seeing at Trafalgar. This is the main Trafalgar mine here from 1890s. The main vein and 2 other veins, Trafalgar South and the Magazine vein, which runs through the middle here. They're the main veins which are contributing most of the ounces into the exploration target. But then we've got over to the north, further to the north, we've identified these veins through here, through surface trenching and then drilling. And we've just put 2 drill holes into that area to date. We've run some metallurgical test work also on the mineralisation at Trafalgar, and in the first round our recovery was over 94% gold using a leaching process. So we don't think there's going to be any problems as far as extracting the gold when it comes to production. Also, it's very important that the gold here is both in the granodiorite and the overlying sediments. So that really opens up the opportunity for us across the whole of the granodiorite to be looking for gold both in the granites and also external to that in the sediments. So the drilling we're doing at the Golden Ridge adit at the moment, this is a co-funded program which the state government's contributing up to $140,000 towards that. So we're very thankful for the Tasmanian government with their EDGI grant program. The drill rig's on this hole number 1 at the moment, and we're testing below the Golden Ridge adit, which is this yellow line through here. You can see this on the LiDAR, the old mullock from that adit. We've been into that adit. It's in very good condition, pristine condition almost, and sampled some of the veins. As you can see here, there's a crosscut here that runs up about 30 metres off the main adit itself, and some of our samples have been up to 37 grams per tonne from the vein that they were mining from. and the best result was 64 grams from another vein, which was a bit further in. So certainly a lot of gold mineralization. On the surface, there's been trenches which have been identified, and it all lines up quite clearly. So we're drilling holes to test either side of that. And the only RC drill hole in that area was hole number 1, which had some mineralization in it as well. So certainly that looks like there's plenty of scale for us to find more gold in that area, and hence we've stepped across there before we go back to drilling at Trafalgar. What we'll do now is we'll get a video to run, which I'll just run through. This is just a visualization and gives you an orientation of what's going on in the area. That's an aerial view along the Golden Ridge. As we drill down, you can see all of our tenements again in Tasmania. The northeast of Tasmania is very much dominated by agriculture and logging. You've got 80,000 ounces of gold in Tasmania, but in Victoria, 80 million ounces in Victoria, but under 3 million in Tasmania to date. This is the Golden Ridge adit. You can see here our drilling team in the area. We're very much drilling in forestry reserves, and most of it's actually plantation country. We've got a base at Scottsdale, which is ideally located to service our projects. You can see Golden Ridge, Warrantina, which are our main two, and Beaconsfield obviously will become quite important going forward. You can see this is plantation country on the left. In the background is the Golden Ridge. And now we go into a 3D fly through. You can see the main prospects identified there. That's the granite contact. And you can see this is soil geochemistry, arsenic. Highlights on the eastern side, a lot of anomalies in there, and the gold geochemistry very much matches up. And we're extending that program as we speak. You can see the rock chip samples there, some very high grades. I think brilliant. We had a 295 grams per tonne sample there, which is the record for the area. And now this is where our drilling has occurred. So you can see the diamond RC holes. And now we're going to go and have a look at the vein model, which is the model which has been used to establish the exploration target. The light pink is the granite contact, and you can see the numbers there for the 3 various areas. And when we look at that, you can once again see the mineralization at Trafalgar cuts through that contact quite clearly. And the Trafalgar North vein seemed to line up with Brilliant, which is 3 kilometres further to the west. There's some of the high-grade intersects. You can see there's 5 holes there which have got over 100 grams per tonne gold. That's the 3 main veins identified there. And this is some of the drilling at Trafalgar North, which we've reported recently, up to 40 grams per tonne in some of those veins, which look quite nice. And they were identified from just trenching in the area. It's a large area. The mineralisation's open along strike, down dip. And once again, the granite contact. You can see Brilliant at the other end is actually away from the granite contact. So Golden Ridge, there's the location of that, photo of the adit, which goes in, and the vein models, which we've estimated. So we'll be testing that at the moment. And this is the Brilliant prospect. Grade's not as high as Brilliant, but at the moment we're drilling quite a bit away from the granite contact, where the old workings are. There was some historical drilling done back in about 2000. So we've got 3 kilometres in that area, and lots of gaps, as you can see. And also you look at Brilliant, it's much higher up in elevation than Trafalgar. So there's obviously depth extensions down to the granite contact at Brilliant, which are worth testing. And so over at Grenadier, you can see the big soil anomaly there, and at a place called Big Penny, we've got anomalies there which are giving us great encouragement. And we'll be doing we're doing some soil sampling and trenching at Grenadier at the moment. Big Penny, there's more soil sampling results to come out of that over the next few weeks. So we'll certainly work to establish additional targets from our soil sampling for us to then follow up with drilling. But certainly right now at the moment, the focus is on Golden Ridge and drilling under the Golden Ridge adit right now. We will design a program of extra drilling at Trafalgar North to step out from that drilling over the next few weeks. And our plan is to obviously try and grow that resource at Trafalgar and also establish if there's a big connection between Brilliant and Trafalgar through the granites, which certainly there's all the indications that there is. So next slide. So to summarise, Flynn Gold, we're focused on 3 areas, but the priority right now is Golden Ridge. But Warrantina and Firetower are 2 projects which have got very good indications of gold mineralisation there, and I can run people through that if they've got any questions going forward. We've certainly established an exploration target at Golden Ridge and confirming that really it's a very prospective new project. There's a lot of areas that need to be tested over time, but we think that we've got the potential, because of the scale of those anomalies, that we've got are going to be able to report a significant large gold endowment in the future. We're well funded, we're drilling at the moment, and I've got a very good team in management and on the board supporting it. So I think it's an exciting start for our project, for our company, and I can commend it to anyone who's watching.
Thanks very much, Neil. That's a great run through. Just a reminder, if anyone does have questions, please fire them in using your Q&A tab, and I'm sure Neil will be happy to answer. Neil, if I could just start with a fairly broad question. Exploration target, I think, has impressed the market. It's a sizable target. I just wondered, with your strategy moving forward, is your aim to keep growing that target? In other words, make more discoveries and grow the overall scale of the project, or are you thinking about converting some of that target into JORC mineral resources?
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, look, it's a good question, and certainly I don't want to sound like a politician, but our strategy is to do both. Both. We've got we're coming into summer now, so it's a really good time to be doing what you can see on the screen there. Emma, one of our full-time fieldies, has been out there with another one of our field assistants, and they're basically going to be soil sampling across a lot larger part of the granodiorite along the margins to the north, both on the western side, north of Grenadier, on the eastern side, north of Big Penny and Double Event, and also we're doing some traverses across the interior of the granodiorite, because we really want to establish if there are some major structures running across through that. Whilst the gold system is intrusive related, there's a lot of things lining up structurally. As I said, the veins at Brilliant almost line up perfectly with Trafalgar North 3 k's away. So we do want to test in the granodiorite and see if we can establish mineralisation, whether there's gold mineralisation in that zone there. So once we've finished these couple of diamond holes, we've got an RC program planned for early in the new year, drilling basically about a kilometre away from Trafalgar to the west. And there's certainly some easy wins for us when it comes to Trafalgar itself. So at Trafalgar North, we've got 2 holes at the moment. The second hole we drilled was only a 150-metre hole, so we don't have to drill very deep there to test a long strike. We actually want to test to the east of Trafalgar North, where there's a creek and then a hill on the other side of the creek, and up on that hill we've had the biggest arsenic and gold anomalies are actually sort of on that hill, which is a little bit to the east of Trafalgar, or northeast of Trafalgar itself, and east of Trafalgar North. So we certainly want to grow Trafalgar itself, because that's the obvious place to go and reinforce the success we've had to date. So I hope that sort of clarifies our plan for the next few months at least.
Thanks, Neil. I guess a related question, the drilling currently underway at Link Zone, can you talk us through that in a bit more detail, and will that contribute to an addition to the exploration target in the short term?
Certainly. I mean, the exploration target at Link Zone is based on some underground and surface sampling of veins and that one RC hole that we drilled in 2022. So we've got 2 co-funded holes we're drilling, which were shown on that slide. We will be looking at putting some additional holes in there based on the results we see. And certainly, we'll have more news on that as it becomes available and apparent. And yeah, so certainly, if we have some good results in the first 2 holes, we'll look to put some more holes in that area and try and grow that. It's an easy one to basically define more definitively from a few extra holes. So that's certainly why we're drilling there at the moment, and the fact we're getting co-funding to do that from the state government on a dollar for dollar up to $140,000 is very useful for us. And the hole we're drilling about 1 kilometre to the east of that at hole number 4, which had 33 metres at half a gram recorded in it. We're twinning that hole and extending that hole down to test where the granite contact is, which we think is about 200 metres depth. So that will then have some RC drill holes drilled on a fence basically north of that across the granite contact. So yeah, certainly a couple of months worth of work with the diamond rig and follow up with the RC over the summer.
Fantastic. So lots of drilling to look out for.
Yeah.
There's a question about metallurgy. You did touch on that, but just wondered if you could talk in a little bit more detail on the work that was done and the recoveries, and also is the metallurgy reasonably homogeneous across the deposit? Do you see any sort of variability, or is it reasonably consistent?
The samples we collected, and we collected samples basically from 0.3 of a gram. So these were the pulps from the leftover from the labs. So we took anything from 0.3 up to 143 grams per tonne gold. It's 26 samples. We gave them to ALS and asked them to do what we call a leach well test, which is a 1 kilo sample. They run basically a bottle roll with an accelerant called the leach well accelerant. It simulates a CIP process. So basically, the gold recovered through that process is determined, and then they also do a fire assay on the tail, and that's how you get the 94% plus recovery across the samples, and that was fairly homogeneous. There wasn't a couple of really high outliers either way, which was very encouraging. So we're getting gold mineralization come out in that process from very low to very high. In the very high grade veins, we're seeing little bits of visible gold, but not real chunky nuggety gold. So whilst there obviously is a bit of a nugget effect, we think the gold itself is quite fine. There's a lot of arsenopyrite in some of those veins, but the gold doesn't seem to be locked up in the arsenopyrite. So we certainly haven't seen any sort of refractory issues at this point in time. There also seemed to be a bit of galena as well. So when we're seeing high-grade lead numbers in the soils, and that's one of the reasons we went and had a look at Trafalgar North. We had a lead, arsenic and gold anomaly showing up there in 2 samples, and it's like whenever we hit high-grade gold mineralization, there's usually 0.5 to 1+% lead in there as well. But certainly, we've got a plan to run more metallurgical test work going forward. Now that we've got the exploration target out there, we want to start looking at potential processing methods. So gravity separation, we'd expect this mineralisation would be amenable to some gravity separation at the start of any processing plant. And things like ore sorting also are on the table now. I mean, when you look at the veins through the granite, they're quite discreet. Visually, you can see the the mineralized veins. They look quite different to the granite host. So there's opportunities there also to see if ore sorting could be used as a pre-concentrating method to really allow us to focus on a small footprint mining operation going forward, something like a Costerfield, where they're mining a couple 100,000 tonnes per annum, but they're pulling out average of over 10 grams per tonne gold. Mines like that make a lot of money without taking a lot of gold out of the ground. So we think that's very much what we see as the potential for Trafalgar and the rest of Golden Ridge.
Excellent, thanks, Neil. Speaking of mining operations, I just wondered if it's a question that is probably more relevant to investors over here on the West Coast, but Tasmania as a jurisdiction for mining and exploration, how have you found operating there, and how easy is it to do business as a resource company in Tassie?
Mm-hmm. Look, I've spent most of my time working on projects in Western Australia, so as a comparison to operating in Western Australia, we've certainly from an exploration point of view on where we're operating, it's actually easier. We are basically dealing with the state government because we're in forestry reserves. As you saw on that video there's plantation timber right next to where we're drilling at the moment. So basically the whole of that granite dome at Golden Ridge is covered by plantations or reserved for plantations. Golden Ridge has got some timber on it, but it's all wide spaced. So getting around and drilling in amongst the trees is quite straightforward. The government regulator, the MRT over there, is very supportive of what we're doing. We can get permits to drill within a couple of weeks, and they come out and check what we're doing. We had a site visit earlier or late last week, and the MRT official was very happy with what we're doing at Golden Ridge. So it's Look, I've been really impressed with how straightforward it has been. The government there is very supportive of mining. Over 60% of export revenue for Tasmania comes from mining projects. You've got Savage River with its iron ore, Henty Gold Mine, Rosebery and Renison Tin. Those mines are all running over there on the West Coast at the moment and generating huge amounts of wealth for the state. So certainly, as far as permitting is concerned, we'll be looking to actually put a mining lease application in as soon as we can to start that process as well. We expect that we'll be able to get all the permitting in place in a relatively short period of time.
Thanks, Neil. Couple of sort of questions just to wrap things up. You recently announced a new exploration license application around the Beaconsfield mine. Can you give us a quick snapshot of that opportunity and when you'd be hoping to get on the ground over there?
Yes, look, we became aware that that area was available a few months ago. The Beaconsfield gold mine there's a formation there called the Cabbage Tree Hill Formation, which hosts the Beaconsfield deposit. That deposit goes basically from surface down to the mine itself. So far has gone down to 1,200 meters depth, and there's mineralization below Beaconsfield gold mine. There's still 500,000 ounces at 10 grams in an ore mineral reserve or ore reserve there, and the mineralization extends over a corridor of 10 to 12 kilometers. But there's been very little drilling done in those areas in recent times. And certainly there's old workings. To the south, there's a place called Salisbury Hill, and further to the north, there's Pierce Creek. So we've got some targets there to drill test, and access in there shouldn't be too hard. A lot of it's sort of forestry reserved areas rather than private freehold land. So as far as the permit's concerned, it's been advertised, and the last conversation I had with the MRT last week was that there'd been no comments from the public submission period. So we'll expect they're just going through the processes, and we should have that license granted, I would have thought, in the next few months, based on where we are in the sequence of events.
Fantastic. Neil, just to sort of bring things home for us, maybe if I could refer back to Barry's article of the weekend, where he looked at the scale of the target, he looked at some peer companies in the space, and obviously the value gap there. I mean, how do you see that playing out for Flynn over the coming months? I mean, there's I think for the first time you've given the market a real sense of the scale of what the opportunity that you have. So hopefully it's just a case of sort of consistently delivering on that, and the value re-rate will follow, presumably.
That's right. Look, I think the lack of sort of knowledge around how Tasmania is open for business may be deterring some people from investing early. We will move the project forward on a number of fronts other than just drilling and on the ground exploration. So as people start to see permitting activities take place, as they start to see metallurgical test work, and hopefully in a year or so scoping studies, that will obviously give people a lot more confidence around where this project's going. So we've got a lot of work for us to do going ahead, but yeah, look, very exciting times for everyone involved.
Thanks, Neil. Fascinating story, and clearly a huge opportunity for investors at these levels. So look, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Nicholas. Great to be with you today.
And thank you to everyone watching. Just a reminder that we will release a recording of this webinar, and I think Neil is also road showing around the country this week. He's in Perth today, tomorrow, and he's in Melbourne Wednesday, Thursday this week. So he's always happy to catch up with investors or anyone who's interested in the company. So if you would like to see him in person, just give him or myself a shout, and we'll line that up. But Neil, thanks for your time, and thank you everyone for tuning in this morning to hear about Flynn Gold, a company we look forward to keeping a close watch on in the coming months. Thanks very much.
Thank you, everyone.